Hello, and welcome to the Soul Shaking Love podcast. I'm your host, Coach Valerie Green from CoachValerieGreen.com. And this podcast is dedicated to bringing you the best teachers in love and how to have the best relationship with yourself and a partner. And so today I'm super excited to introduce the guest that I have now, Bobbi Palmer. Hi, Bobbi.
Hello, good to be here.
Yeah, and we were just chatting before this call, and it's amazing how much knowledge she has. And this topic is really one of my favorites. I love to approach this topic from different angles. It's just how to get beyond chemistry and really pick men who make you feel safe and happy and special. And I know I myself, as well as probably most of you, have struggled with this, just getting lost in chemistry, getting blindsided and getting carried away in it. And then, we'll go in depth in the interview, but of course, like many things happen, right? Like you didn't realize the red flags, you steam right over them. He's distant and you don't know why, right? And it's like, so this interview will really shed light on that dynamic and how you can really get past just looking at chemistry and streamline the process so you pick the right guy for you. So I'm super excited about that. And I know that Bobbi is excited to talk about that too. I'll just tell you a little bit about her before we dive in. So I followed Bobbi online for a while, and I've just been really impressed by her content. And so she became a first-time bride at age 47, and she said, "See ya" to the corporate world, and founded her company Date Like a Grown Up, which I love. And her mission is to help women do what she did, which is to find a really magnificent grown-up man, and by grown-up, she means a man who has his life together. He's looking forward to an exciting future, and he's really ready for true intimacy and partnership. And so she's here to tell you that there's plenty of fantastic guys out there. They're looking for a woman just like you, and you can have fun on your journey to find him. And I mean, that's the main thing that most of my clients want. They're just like, oh, I hate dating. How do I make it fun? Right. So like, yay, I'm excited to talk about this. So let's just dive into the topic. First of all, I'd like to ask you, Bobbi, why do you specialize in working with women over 40? Because I know that it's a very specific, age range to pick. And there's specific things that women over 40 need to pay attention to, right? So yeah, tell me a little bit more about why that really speaks to you.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's my personal experience, right? Because like you said, I was married at 47. So I was a 40-year-old dater, and it's different for us. One of the really main things I think that are different, well, two. One is when you're younger, you're looking for a mate, you're looking for a partner so that you can create a life, right? You can have kids, you can maybe move to a place you two want to live to. And you're building a life. Whereas at 40 or 50 or 60, some of my clients are in their 70s, our lives are pretty well set.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not the same as being set in our ways, by the way.
Yes.
Right. So our lives are pretty well set, and we're looking for a partner to share that life. Right. So which is not to say that you don't learn from each other, you don't grow, you don't take on each other's interests, things like that. But generally speaking, at after 40, you know what you want from life, you know what you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a different kind of partnership that you're looking for. And the other thing is, which sometimes really works to our disadvantage, is that we have a lot of shit. We have a lot of stuff that's been piled on over the years, right? Like all the rejection and the bad choices and the men who maybe aren't the best quality. And so as we get older, and again, my clients range anywhere from like 35 to 75. As we get older, that just forms layers and layers. And a lot of times, unfortunately, I lived it, that turns into bitterness, it turns into lack of trust, it turns into repeating patterns. And so those are very specific things that I help women get past so they can just approach their journey with an open heart and an open mind and find that man that fits into their existing life and enhances it.
Yes, that's such a good way of putting it. And I completely agree. I think you know, when I coach women over 40, I completely agree. It's like especially if you're not looking to start a family. I don't think that we've really been taught, and I'm not saying women over 40 aren't looking to start families, right? It's like, so yeah, I'm sure that you and I both coach women who are 40 and like, let's you know, decrease the amount of time it takes to meet the right guy because you're running out of time, right? But for everybody over 40 who's not looking to start a family, we've not really been taught a different model for how to create a love relationship. It's kind of the default is, I think it's important to understand that up until at most 70 years ago, marriage was for procreation and survival. And you know, romantic love is actually a relatively new notion historically, but we haven't really been taught how to be happy together, how to really now that you are established in your life and you have all this stuff both physically and emotionally, how do you then co-create and integrate with this other person's stuff and actually be happy together and actually create a life together? And not, now that you're not like doing the default, okay, we're going to have kids, that's what we're creating together. What else are we creating together? Like, we haven't really been taught how to do that. And so I love that that's what you focus on, because I think, you know, it's kind of like the Wild West. There haven't been a lot of established you know, ways of creating this that women can draw on. They need to work with a coach, or you know, to watch videos or to read books and learn how to do it. So I love that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the women that I work with too, a lot of them are divorced. So they haven't dated in, you know, since their 20s. And a lot have never been married as well. I've got women in their 50s and 60s, never been married, but they're still thinking men are the boys they dated in, you know, in high school or college, or right. And so the good news about dating at this time in life is that we've almost all of us, learned and had life experiences and matured and developed more interpersonal skills, and gotten, like I said earlier, clear about what we want and don't want. So there's that dynamic, which I think makes it more interesting to date at this time in life. And right, and men are boys boys are men and girls are women. And it's like, I got an email from a client last week, and she said, and she had met this guy, and she said, oh my gosh, now I know what you mean about grown-up men. He told me right away how he felt. He told me right away that he was interested. He told me right away how he imagined the ideal relationship, and that he thought I had possibility to be that woman. And he took his profile down. He wanted to focus on me. And she was like, what is that? What is that about? And I said, that's about a grown-up man that doesn't play games, knows what he wants, and is going after it. That's exactly what my husband did when I met him after the first date. So, so there are definite pluses, right?
Oh, completely. And you know, I'm 42, so I completely agree. You know, when I met my now husband, I mean, we didn't want kids, so we're kind of like, but we know what we want. You know, we know what we want our life to look like, and it just became obvious that we could create more together than we could on our own, and that's what a grown-up mindset is, you know. So but I'd love to hear more from you. Like, what do you actually mean by a grown-up, and how can a woman tell a man who's, in your definition, a grown-up from somebody who's still a boy in many ways?
Well, you know what, the man I just described, right, that this client told me about, you know, that's a grown-up man. He's lived his life. He's you know, I know some more details about this man. I'll use him as an example. He's been divorced twice. And initially you'd go like, oh my gosh, no, that's terrible. Well, you know what? I mean, he's 55. And so, and my husband, by the way, was also divorced twice. Bree's a charm. We've been together 15 years. I think it's going okay.
Congratulations.
but here's a man who has learned from his experiences. And by the way, this is a tip I want to give women out there and men too. Instead of asking, well, tell me about your past relationship, tell me about your divorce, please don't ask people that question. Ask the question, what did you learn from the experience?
Yes.
What did you learn from the experience that will make your next relationship stronger, more intimate, more lasting? So a grown-up man will be able to answer that question.
Yes.
Will be able, because he'll have had the life experience and he'll have learned from it, and he'll be able to articulate, an answer to your question. And he's also someone, again, who he's not going to chase. This is really different, sort of men versus boys. When boys chase, it's almost always out of ego. They want to win. They want to get you. They want to catch you. Grown-up men, they're not going to chase. If they're interested, they're going to tell you. They're going to show you. And if you do that hard to get thing that you learned when you were, 19, he's not going to stick around.
Yeah.
Because he knows what he wants. He knows how to get it. He's been rejected like 1,000 times. For every one time you've been rejected, that dude's been rejected like 1,000.
Right.
Because it was their job, right? To ask.
Totally.
And that's another really big difference between, the boys you used to date and what I call a grown-up man. He's direct. And real quickly, that's different than love bombing. I'm not talking about the man who just meets you or just emails with you and tells you he thinks you're the one and you're so amazing and you're his angel, and right. And he wants you to take your profile down also. And he wants you to make a commitment after the first date. That's not a grown-up guy. That's still a guy coming from ego.
Yeah.
The grown-up man is going to tell you, I'm really interested, and stop there. That's what my husband did. I'm really interested in getting to know you. I'm going to take my profile down and focus on you. Full stop. What didn't follow was, and I want you to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
That's love bombing.
Yes.
Right? That's kind of,
I totally agree.
winning.
Love bombing is like plowing into the relationship, making it happen really quickly, and I love that distinction. I've actually never heard that before. I've only heard it in more exaggerated terms, like love bombing is you're the most amazing person I've ever met, I'm putting you on a pedestal. But I completely agree. Love bombing can also be that they're trying to push the relationship too quickly, as opposed to just like, what I'm hearing you say that a grown-up man would do is just like put his cards on the table and have an intelligent, well thought out, examined life. That he's going to have learned from his mistakes. He's going to know what he likes and what he doesn't like too. He's going to know what he wants in a relationship. He's going to put his cards on the table, but he's not going to require that you do anything. He's not going to try to push it on you.
And he's also going to try to impress you.
Of course.
Right? That's what men do. They sort of like put their feathers out there and they show you. He's going to try to impress you. He's going to try to get you to like him, but he's not going to do it in a manipulative way.
Yeah.
He's not going to like learn about what you want and do that. And the way you can kind of tell is he doing it seemingly at either one of two ways? Is he doing it at the risk of himself being happy? Like, is he just like doing for you?
Right.
That's not a balanced approach to relationships.
Right. That would be codependent.
Right. Or is he totally manipulating you, that it's all about you? But in retrospect, you can look back and you go, oh, it was all about him.
Right.
It was all about him trying to make me believe it was all about me. So don't wait. So what I want to do today is I want to help people avoid having to learn that in retrospect.
Yeah.
And kind of learn it in the moment.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
And great. So let's just jump into that. Like, how can you tell in the moment? And I also want to just talk about like, and maybe we can ask both of these questions at once. It's like, how do you avoid getting caught in chemistry? Because I think that's what happens a lot, is that we have feelings for someone and we just go with it and we just kind of shut our mind off, like the critical part of our mind that's like, is that a red flag? And, we shut that off because it doesn't feel good. And so, like, how can we not get blindsided by chemistry and stay present to be able to tell if the man in front of you is grown up, so to speak?
Yeah. You say that so expertly. And the way I talk about chemistry is it just renders us stupid. It does. Yeah, you miss, like you said, you miss red flags.
Mm-hmm.
Chemistry, I call chemistry the buzz. I talked about like the buzz, right? The chemistry, and it could be every woman, every man has like their own thing that gives them a buzz. It's not always what they look like. It could be how tall they are. It could be their the way they make eye contact. It could be, he just made me laugh so much. I hear that and I go, okay, that's fun, but we're looking for the right mate, not just the right date, right?
Totally. So, and it's also, I think it's right. It's like, it's a feeling, like, yes, it's a mental checklist, like he checks all the boxes. Oh my God. But then it's also a feeling, right? It's like that fireworks.
But it's the wrong boxes. I think that's the key.
I agree. So
a lot of my women that I support, they're sapiophiles. They're like so into the intellect, smart, always so creative. Yeah, that's their buzz, right? So what happens is when you feel that buzz, and yeah, you're right, it's physical, like you feel it in your body, you feel it, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. When a client says after a date does that oh my God thing, I just think, oh boy, she could be in trouble. Let me help her. But that doesn't last, right? I mean, anybody listening or watching this has been in a situation where you've been really excited about someone and it's turned out to be a car wreck, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's disappeared, he's treated me like shit, and it took me 3 years to really realize that. So how do you tell I have what I call my is he hot or is he hubby test. So here's how that goes. Now, anybody watching or listening to this who thinks you could fall into that, like letting the buzz lead you, like write this down, please.
Yes.
So first you ask yourself, is he hot? Yes. I mean, right? Because I'm feeling the buzz, right? And again, it doesn't matter what it is that's giving you the buzz. It helps to have an understanding of that because you start seeing your pattern.
Yeah.
But let's just say it's that he's just really charismatic, right? So what else about him makes you excited? So yes, he's hot. What else about him makes you excited? Well, maybe he's also good looking. Maybe he's worldly. Maybe he's well-traveled, blah, blah. These are like the things that my women really go for. I did too. Okay. What else does he have that's on your must-have list?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd love to talk today about how to create a grown-up must-have list.
Yes, that's where my next question.
Right. So he's clever, he's well-traveled, he's handsome, he's all that stuff. I'm feeling it. What else does he have that's on my must-have list? Okay, on my must-have list, that's the grown-up stuff. Does he make me feel safe? Does he make me feel special? Does he make me feel understood? When you get to that step, 9 times out of 10, the answer is going to be, I don't know yet, or hell no.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those things, right? Because you're at the buzz stage.
Yes.
And so that's the answer of how do you tell whether you're feeling chemistry or whether you've learned enough about this guy to really feel excited that he could be a good potential mate for you.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I love that because it really does boil down to balancing your heart or your body with your head, and I mean, I love that you want to help the watchers and listeners create a must-have list because I have a question about that, of course. And it's like on that must-have list, it's also stuff in your head, of course, but what I'm hearing is that it's qualities of connection, of emotional connection, of developing that secure attachment that a lot of people talk about, that you feel emotionally safe with him, meaning that when you share something emotional, he's present and listening, right? And that he can.
As best a man can.
Right, exactly. I know it's like, this is a topic for another interview, but I actually gave my husband like a note on his phone about how to support Valerie when she's upset, because it's like he's very emotionally present, but I agree. A lot of guys are, they need to be, everyone's different, right? So it's like men and women, we need to be taught. I love how Stan Tatkin talks about that. When you're married, that it's about having the learning the owner's manual on each other. It's like what makes this person tick. And so I imagine that's something on your must-have list, that he really wants to learn and love every part of you, and so I love what you're saying. And how do women create a healthy, mature must-have list?
Yeah. Well, first, let me tell you my 3 principles of dating like a grown-up. So, because that's kind of part of it. So principle number 1 is like you're talking about, balance your head and heart, because we usually go into a potential relationship, even dating, right, with one or the other. We either go in full on feelings, right? And that's when we miss the red flags. That's when we, sort of like agree to do things that are really not within our boundaries, when we're within, our right mind. And that's a really important thing, is to set those boundaries in advance. Or we go in totally with our head, with which women do this more than men.
Yeah.
We go in just trying to understand everything and analyze everything and future think. And that's all about control, right?
Yeah.
All about trying to control. And you can't control human relationships. You just can't. So that's principle number 1, is balance your head and heart at the appropriate time. Is, use your head at the beginning. I call it discover, don't decide. And learn, and at the appropriate time, go for it. Like there's a time that you go, okay, I'm in, like I'm emotionally in. And then the second principle of dating like a grown-up is show kindness to yourself and the men you meet. Right. And that's kind of where that men trying to be there for you the best they can comes in, is understanding that for a lot of reasons, and you're right, that's another talk, but for a lot of reasons, men are constrained with their emotions, and we have very different brain chemistry. We have very different socialization. And so man sitting in front of you is not the guy that ghosted you last week. He's not your ex-husband. Be kind to him just like you would any other human being. And certainly be kind to yourself. No beating yourself up for what you did yesterday or 10 years ago.
Right.
We're all human. We all make mistakes. And then lastly, this is a segue, believe it or not. Lastly is take responsibility for your actions and outcomes. Take responsibility for your actions and outcomes. So like when you talk, Valerie, about owner's manuals, we're responsible for teaching just like they're responsible for learning, right?
Exactly.
Right. This is the idea that like men should read our minds. When men are asked what bugs them most about women, almost inevitably at the top of the list is that we expect them to read our minds.
Yes.
Right.
Oh my God. I mean, I still do that sometimes. I'm still guilty of that sometimes. It's,
of course,
the part, our inner child, because as a baby, the adults do have to read our minds, right? Or our body language. But I think it's important to understand that like we still have an inner child that wants that and expects that. And it's up to us to be like, that's my inner child, and treat her nicely. And it's my job to teach him how I need to be supported. It's not his job to know,
That's right. That's right. So don't be mad when a guy doesn't buy you flowers if you haven't told him that you love flowers, And then of course that extrapolates to all the, a lot of the emotional interaction that you have. So that responsibility for your actions and outcomes, part of that is having this must-have list, right? So there's this cycle, and I know you've experienced this, unfortunately, with women. And again, remember, 47, I dated till 47. So I've done every one of these things myself. Like there's no shade being thrown here at all. The choices that we make, there's that cycle. We choose the wrong guy. he treats us like crap, or, he disappoints us, or he leaves us, whatever. And then we get into this sort of hurt and fear of rejection and bitterness and men suck and those kind of things. But those feelings sort of chip away at our self-esteem and make us choose the wrong guy again, because we're not taking care of ourselves in a grown-up, adult, mature way. We're going after the buzz. That buzz, when you're getting to that third step, well, I should say you're not getting to that third step. So you keep picking that guy that gives you the buzz. You keep getting mistreated and disappointed. And anyway, stopping that cycle is your responsibility. It's not about, oh, I hope the right guy comes along, because you need to make the right choices.
Yes.
So here's how you do it.
Right.
Do you want to say something before I jump into this?
Oh, I mean, I always have something to say, right? But yeah, no, I was just going to say that I completely agree with you that it is our responsibility, I like to say that as the feminine partner, it's our responsibility to set the emotional tone of the relationship. And what I mean by that is that we'll attract, like, I love what you just said about that. When we beat ourselves up for how the cycle has happened in the past, that perpetuates the cycle, because we're going to attract a man that treats us the way we treat ourselves. And that's not just some woo-woo thing. It's that how I treat myself is the template for my subconscious mind to say, oh, this is how I deserve to be treated. And therefore, we're going to be attracted to somebody who treats us that way. So we beat ourselves up. We're going to look for the chemistry as the escape. But underneath, our subconscious mind is colluding, like, oh, I beat myself up. He's going to beat me up, emotionally, or at least like not value my feelings, because I'm not valuing my own feelings. And I'm not saying that we're self-abusive at that extreme, but it's important to take a look at how do we respond to our own emotions when we feel them, so that's also the topic of another interview. But yeah, I mean, I really want to get to this must-have list. I just really wanted to completely validate that dynamic.
Yeah. And we get to thinking something's wrong with us, because men don't want me. Men keep rejecting me. Well, it's because you're picking the wrong men. But yeah, our self-worth just kind of like, and this is a cycle that's hard to break. And I know you, like me, one of the main things that we help women with, right, is like breaking the cycle of, this isn't because you're not beautiful. This isn't because you're not smart. This isn't because you're not, desirable to men. It's because you keep picking the wrong men and they're beating you down every time. Yeah. So it's about getting to know yourself and taking care of yourself. So
yes.
Okay. So the must-have list. So like we talked about earlier, it is based on feelings. It's based on your emotions. It's not based on the superficial, what he looks like, or how much he makes me laugh. I love laughing. I love it. You get a lot of women like that, right? Oh my God, he makes me laugh. He's so,
yes, totally.
That's great. But after the first 6 months, like, you're not going to be laughing all the time, because life has its way of getting in the way of that.
Yes.
So what else is there, right? So the best thing to do, unfortunately, a lot of women have never had the experience of feeling really safe in a relationship. And by safe, it's emotionally, physically, mentally, financially, right? And so when I help women build this this grown-up must-have list, we start with visualizing being with a man who makes you feel really good in a place that just makes you feel really good too. So, and again, sometimes we have to visualize it because we can't go back to our previous experience. We have never felt it. A lot of times we haven't felt it with our parents, right? Yeah. With our fathers and so on. So visualize being in this wonderful place with this wonderful man and feeling at peace and safe, and be in that moment for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then write down the other feelings that you have, because safe is always on the list. Every woman wants to feel safe. It's our natural sort of requirement to live, right?
Totally. And
Going
I
back.
think everybody has a different definition of what
Mhm,
safety means to her. And so I completely agree.
mhm.
And that's why you help women articulate their must have list.
That's right. So if you're listening to this, if you want to start creating your list, then you've got columns. You've got your feeling, and then you've got, what does that look like? Your feeling, what does it look like? And is it a must have or a nice to have?
Mm-hmm.
There's your goal. So what's your feeling? And again, if you need to, do the visualization and just really capture whatever feelings come up. And if you need to, because sometimes it's hard to articulate and describe feelings, just go on the internet and Google feelings list,
Yeah, exactly. There's a
right?
lot of feelings lists out there.
It'll help you. So go and you're going to have things on your list like, I want to feel safe, I want to feel understood, I want to feel special, I want to feel sexy, I want to feel desirable, I want to feel smart, I want to feel, valued. There's all these feelings. And then what does it look like in real life? Okay, what does that look like in real life? So safe. For some women, that looks like you don't raise your voice, you're a fair fighter. And that's for women, unfortunately, so many of them who've
Mm-hmm.
had violence in their past, right? Some women safe is financially responsible, makes good decisions, takes on life's problems head on. Some women safe is, I know he does things to make me know that he cares about me, right? And
Yes.
what are those things? You can dig a little deeper. Like, what are those things? Don't make it stuff like brings me flowers. Don't, because some of these things you have to teach him, like we talked about, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But he stays in contact with me. He plans in the dating stage, he plans dates with me. He reserves my time, right? He compliments me, which not all men are good at either.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to teach them that,
Right,
and,
exactly.
right? Understood, right? What does that look like to you? Does that look like when you share, he's listening, he's present, that he asks you some questions, maybe? That when you express something that you want or need, he actually reacts to it, responds to it, you know?
Exactly.
Um, so, sexy or desirable, is it about affection, right? Then go down to, is it nice to have or must have? So a lot of times I'll see on a list something like, I want to feel entertained. Well, again, it's not men's job to entertain us. If you're looking to be
Mhm.
entertained, just go to a comedy club. You don't need a boyfriend or a husband,
Right.
right? That's when you start really looking at your must-haves. And remember, your must-haves are about your life, the rest of your life. Good
Yeah.
mate, not a good date,
Yes, I
right?
completely agree. Hmm.
Good mate, the grown-up stuff. Right? Does he show up? Does he keep his promises? Again, does he face life's challenges head on? I know these are like boring, they're not exciting, but that's what keeps a relationship for 15 years. Trust me. When
Totally.
you
Yeah.
go through some real stuff together, both of my parents have passed since Larry and I have been married. We've been in a house together for almost a year and a half. The two of us and our cat with COVID.
Yes, exactly.
I started a business and he had my back. Those
Exactly.
are the things that really matter, and the things that make you feel like you're in a real partnership versus you're having fun. And fun can be in there.
Right, exactly. I think fun's important to be in there. It's just um if you're feeling some chemistry, then there's fun, like that's checked off. I feel like what most women don't do, at least who are watching this far or listening this far, is really create that grown-up must-have list and learn how to tell if he does have those qualities that she would need in order to feel safe and understood and whatever it is that is
Mhm.
important to her. And it's important to balance that with the fun, because
Right.
most women just go for fun. Or obviously there's also women, and I've been guilty of this in the past too, who will choose a man just based on their head when they're not so much feeling the chemistry, right? And that comes from usually a belief that I have to settle because I don't deserve it, or I'm running out of time, or something like that. And those are what you said in the beginning, the blocks that you help women work through.
That's
So,
right.
it's a question of both. Both have to be there, right? Balancing the heart with the head. The heart has to be there and the head has to be there. And the clarity about what you need to be happy for the rest of your life is what we're talking about.
Yeah, and a couple really important things about that. Number one, the feelings that you identify, and there should be like, this isn't like a really 25 things on your list. If you've got that, you need to go back and really check must have versus nice to have, right? And again, what does it look like? So the first thing is, what does it, or the second thing is, does it look like? You want to think of it as, what does it look like as you're dating versus relationship, right?
Yes.
So because when you're dating, obviously you're not going to learn if you feel loved with him, right? But is he understood, safe, right? Is he judging? Like, is he judgy? Is he critical? Is he trying to like teach you all the time? We've had that, right? The teacher, and he's not listening to you. But then relationship, you may have another column even, what does it look like in relationship? But important is, do you feel these feelings when you're with him and when you're not with him?
Right, exactly.
Because the buzz guy is the one that makes you feel really good when you're with him, and when you're not with him, you feel like that.
Right.
You feel unsafe, right?
Yeah, or at least just like unimportant, not priority.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's just, he's very entertaining and he's charismatic and he's really brilliant and all those things, but he's not keeping in touch with you. He's not, if you do ask for what you need, which by the way, you really need to learn how to do that. It's important.
Exactly.
And it's important. You need to ask, please, I love getting to know you, but texting isn't, I think, the best way. It would really make me happy if we could talk on the phone or video once in a while, right?
Exactly.
Don't get mad because he texts you all the time, because you haven't asked him to do otherwise.
Exactly.
So
yes.
Take responsibility for your actions and outcomes. Feel the buzz when you feel it. I'm not saying don't feel it or ignore it, but keep going down that list.
Yes.
And if you get to that, does he have my must-haves? Then the answer is, I'm not seeing potential for that. No, I'm not seeing. Then I want you to run the other direction. It'll be hard, but head and heart, use your head and leave.
Yes. And I'm sure that's something that you help women clarify, is like, how do you know if he has the potential for that? And I'm sure that you have a whole slew of, both experience and skills and helping women do that, and also how to let him go in a respectful way when he's not the one. Because if you do let him go, it might feel sad that you're losing the chemistry, and that's what opens up your time and energy to meet the right guy, right? So, and then how do you then nurture the relationship with the right guy, which is another interview, of course, because it's exactly what you said, asking for what you want in a way that men can really be inspired by, because it is important to know what inspires a masculine person different than your girlfriends, and what keeps a masculine person feeling inspired, because that is our responsibility as the feminine partner to inspire. And it's obviously his responsibility, assuming that you want to be with a masculine man, to keep logistically moving the relationship forward. And, obviously I don't believe in strict gender roles, but we could talk about that in another interview, of course. But I love this healthy, mature must-have list. And I definitely think that everybody watching or listening can just listen to the last 10 minutes. You did a great job of describing how to say how you feel, how you want to feel, and what are the actions that he would have to do to make you feel that way, and not to be so attached to those specific actions, because that's another thing that some of my clients do. Well, he didn't do this thing that I like. And it's like, well, first of all, yes, ask, but it's important to recognize he might have a different way of making you feel understood, and what's his way different than what you have on your list, not to be so attached to how it looks on your list. But I'm sure that what you tell women is, yes, it's good to have a rough idea of how it looks, just to know what to look for, but then how do you feel when you're with
Mhm.
him and when you're not with him, right? Is it just the buzz of the chemistry, which feels like you're at an amusement park, right? It's just like exciting,
Yeah.
or it can feel like that, or it could just feel exciting in a different way. Or is it
He's
actually this deep connection that you're building on all levels, and you can sense that he is mature and he's focused on what do I want to create with the rest of my life, and he's
Mhm.
responsible as well as fun, right? And that he
Yeah.
can really meet you on all those levels. And it sounds like that's exactly what you help women to do when you work with them. You've really just given the first piece today, which is probably all we have time for in this interview. Of course, I wish I could be
Right.
talking for hours, then we can go through all of
Yes.
it. But that's the
Yeah.
first piece, is this must-have list. And I'm sure that with your coaching that you help women to then tell, like how to really tell if he has it, and how to let him go, and how to nurture the relationship with the right man. And so I know that you do have a free gift that is helps women to really tell quickly if he's the one, or at least if he has these red flags and if you should keep focusing on him or not, right? So
That's right.
yeah, so let's talk about that.
Yeah. So this is a webinar that I did. It's called Time Wasters and Heartbreakers: 5 Types of Men to Avoid and How to Quickly Tell if He is One of Them.
Ooh.
So it's a video and audio, and I get really specific about these 5 types of men who show up and, generally speaking, give us that buzz,
Yes.
right? Give us that buzz, and how to tell whether they're these types of guys who don't not just waste your time, but get in emotionally, like spend that emotional energy and get in that cycle, right? So it's very, very specific. So again, time wasters and heartbreakers: 5 types of men to avoid and how to quickly tell if he is one. It's very in depth, and I love this program. Actually, it's going to be so helpful to women. Oh, if I only knew this like 25 years ago when I
Oh my
was,
God.
not that it didn't work out the way you need to. And this too, it's sort of like the first level. Get rid of these guys so you can
Mhm.
start focusing on what we talked about today, and not just avoid these guys, but really make choices for the nice, good grown-up men that are everywhere that you're missing.
Yes, exactly. Right. Because, like we said, if you do say, I think the biggest mistake a lot of women make is just not saying no to the wrong guy, so that you wind up wasting your time with the wrong guy. Because if you hadn't wasted your time with the wrong guy, your time would be more available to meet the right one, because there are healthy, mature, and fun men out there. It's just, if you're already with someone who's not the right one, then you're not available to meet the right guy, right? So that's super important, is to know how to recognize the wrong guys so you can make the space in your life for the right one. So
and
um,
and you're not licking you're not busy licking your wounds from these other men. And I got to say one last thing. I know we're out of time, but almost, I would say, well, 99% of the women that I've worked with over a dozen years, the men that they're with now that they're so happy with, they will tell you they are complete opposite of the man they thought they'd end up with.
yes.
Right? You too? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
Because the
mean, and
one,
myself included.
oh, me too. So the ones that they thought that means the guys, their type, that they've been going after the wrong type. And so when you can get past that stuff and really make good decisions, that's when you find the man that makes you feel really safe and special and yeah, and happy. That's what we're talking about today.
Yes, yes, yes. And I really love that. I love that you added that in, because there's so much that I could say about that too. Like
Yeah.
about what is your type? Where does your type come from? Because it's usually our programming. It's not really even what's right for us.
Right.
Obviously you need to be with a guy who turns you on and who is happy and fun and excited too, but it might not be the guy the image you have in your head, or the who you thought you would be with. And so that's why it is important to do this clarifying work,
Right.
to really get clear. Because if you just go by your type, unfortunately, I mean, if your parents had an amazing relationship that looks the way you want your relationship to look and they're still together, then okay, your type might be right for you. But if you didn't get the right modeling from your childhood, if you just go for your type, you'll probably have a marriage similar to how your parents had, or some version of a rebellion against it, or whatever, so like, I mean, it's not that black and white. But I completely agree with you. It's like, it's about getting out of the restrictive box of your type. Like, I mean, he might be your type, but then it might be like, some guys that are your type are mature and some guys are not, they're still boys, and so I think the work that you're talking about is so important, to really take the time to deepen your clarity about what really makes you happy in the long term, not just on a date. It's important to have fun on a date, but what really makes you happy in your version of the partnership that you want to create for the rest of your life, and what would you need to feel on a daily basis in that partnership, and then how would a man like that show up on a date. It sounds like that's exactly the kind of work that you help women do. So I'm excited to watch this webinar that you talked about. I haven't seen it yet. The 5 types of men to avoid and how to tell if he's the one. Sounds really streamlined. So you're really making the work easier for women to do. And that makes me happy, because obviously, like you, I really want men and women to have healthy love for the rest of their lives and not get their hearts broken. I mean, obviously everybody in relationships hurts each other, but you want to be with, unconsciously, but you want to be with a guy who's going to be like, oh, I'm sorry, I want to learn more about you. I want to really not do that again. I really want to learn like what makes you happy and what makes you unhappy, and learn more how to make you happy over time. And that kind of guy is a keeper, and you want to attract him, Yeah. So
on most days
right now, everybody,
almost every day.
I think Gottman's statistic is 5-1, right? His research showed that the couples that stayed together throughout the duration of his 40-year research, there was a 5-1 ratio of positive emotional experiences to unpleasant emotional experiences. And so that means like 20% of the time, even what he calls the relationship masters are disconnected, they're arguing, they're misunderstanding each other. But you want to have the good feelings and the feelings you want be the majority.
Absolutely. And I have to say, not that my marriage is perfect, it's not, but my quotient is much higher than that. So
yes,
makes me really happy. Yeah, and the older you get, I think it's more attainable.
Totally, yeah, and me too, of course. And I think that that's what we want to help women to create. So I really enjoyed having you on. I'm sure we could talk for hours.
I know.
I really encourage everybody to watch your webinar. It sounds amazing, and how to really streamline that process for people. And I'm sure that then people can reach out to you. I'll put your website in there, and women can reach out to you and ask you more questions. And if they are over 40 and they really want to find the one that, you are so knowledgeable, and I'm sure that you can help a lot of people. And so I hope that if you're watching this on YouTube, then please like and share the video so that more people will get this information. And if you're watching on the podcast, then rate and review it, because that gets this out to more people. And because I think if every woman had this information, then more women in the world would have happy, healthy love. And that's what we want. So thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. It was great. Fun.
Yes, lots of fun.